my greatest fear is that I would be worthless or that I would be seen as being worthless, right? However, that is like anti-gospel, right?
It's my friend, Barrett Raven. I am so excited to have you back. It's been about 2 years since you were last on the podcast, and I definitely did take this series as an excuse of like, what's Barrett's personality type? Perfect. He's going to be our type 3 episode. So, welcome back.
Oh, Kelsey, I'm so excited to be here. Thanks for having me on. I'm excited to see where the conversation goes.
Short note on how we know each other is church, our small group, parish group, and you helped me buy my house because you're a realtor, not because you financially backed it or anything. That would have been great. Um,
Yeah.
I'm open to any money you're willing to share. But, yeah, you're the best realtor of all time. I'm very, very convinced of that. And through this, like, really successful career you've had, pivoting from teaching to realty, was that like 10 years ago?
Yeah. So this past March was 10 years.
Wow. Okay. And in that time, I know just from our friendship, you shared that you felt like you kind of had a personality switch to realizing, oh my Lord, I am, well, if you resonate with the Enneagram, like a type 3, sometimes called the performer, or let me see what the other um, ways it's called. It's if you're an Enneagram 3 wing 2, it's sometimes called the charmer. If you're a 3 wing 4, you're the professional. I think you're all of those things. So in this conversation, I really wanted to explore with you, what are some of the key strengths of this type as well as the fear. That's what this series is about. Is Audrey and I are highlighting stories of the 9 personality types through the Enneagram and the ways that each of their unique fears kind of hinder and apply to career pursuits and how our friends have gotten through them. So that's what we'll talk about. If it's okay with you, I will first just read a little textbook definition and then ask you more about your story.
Yeah. Let's do it.
Okay. Basic fear, being worthless. Wow, what a way to start.
Yep. So spot on.
Okay, I just kidding. I'll actually read the full paragraph. Threes are self assured, attractive, and charming, ambitious, competent, and energetic. They can also be status conscious and highly driven for advancement. They are diplomatic and poised, but can also be overly concerned with their image and what others think of them. They typically have problems with workaholism and competitiveness. At their best, they're self accepting, authentic, and everything that they seem to be, role models who inspire others. Straight up, I'm not, oh, how can I say this in a serious way that doesn't sound overly hyped? That is you, in my opinion. I look up to you as a business owner so much.
Oh,
So I would say you're definitely on the integrated, healthy side, but that's me on the outside. So um, basic fear, like I said, of being worthless, basic desire to feel valuable and worthwhile. And key motivations are wanting to be affirmed. I'm laughing because I was raised by a wolf pack of threes. My twin sister, my dad, a lot of other people around me. And it's like, if you don't give them words of affirmation, well, including me, they shrivel and die. So, I mean, yeah, so they want to be affirmed to distinguish themselves from others, to have attention, to be admired, and to impress others. Those are key motivations. So, that was quite a bit. But I'd love to hear how you resonate with that or what being a 3 has meant for you.
yeah. So hold on. First off, are you a 3 also?
I parade as one, but actually I'm a big drama sad girl Enneagram 4 hard wing 3. Being a
Okay.
3 is just my day job. 4 is for nights and weekends.
Oh, fun fact. My understanding is I'm actually a 3 wing 4.
Okay,
So
yeah.
we're like exact like counterparts here. Okay, so there was a lot there, and it's funny. Like there are a couple things that I don't necessarily identify with, like in your description or the
Yeah.
description that you read of the three. And then there are a few things that I'm like, oh my gosh, whoever wrote this completely read my mail. And then most of it just resonates normally.
Yeah.
So my understanding is like, and I've heard the three called the achiever, the performer, there was another one that you said, like achiever, performer, and something else.
I said charmer and the professional.
Yeah, professional. So I've never heard it called the charmer before. That's really interesting. Um, so I mean, I definitely would lean toward the performer.
Mhm.
And so actually let me back up just a little bit. So when I was a kid growing up, I was always told, I had never heard of the Enneagram before, but I was always told that I was a peacemaker. You know, I'm the oldest of four boys, grew up all guys, and like I was always making the peace and breaking up fights and conflict with other people, and just seeing other people having conflict really made me uncomfortable and made me upset. And so I was always trying to be a mediator, right? So when I first learned about the Enneagram, I thought, oh, well, I'm a peacemaker because I'm a laid back, chill guy, and I don't like it when people have conflict. And then, oh god, I'm trying to say 17 things at one time here. This
Hey,
happens every time I talk to you, Kelsey.
say whatever you want.
So in 20 around late 2017, I got really sick, right? And I was sick for about a year and a half, and I had a fever for 4 months.
What?
It was crazy. I had this wild kind of autoimmune situation going on. I thought I had 9 types of cancer. Like the whole time, like,
Yeah.
I don't want to go to the doctor because they're going to tell me like I have 6 weeks to live or something. And through that time, I ended up doing a really crazy diet reset. I went to therapy. And so my therapist, to make a really long story short, our first 2 sessions, he just asked me all about my life and all about my job, all about my business. And he pointed out something really interesting. And he was like, Barrett, I think he was really into the Enneagram. And he was like, I think your Enneagram changed in 2012. Okay.
Wow.
And I'm like, oh, that's oddly specific. And he said, and I'll tell you why he said that. In 2012, he's like, I think you went from being an Enneagram 9, and then literally in like one day, a switch flipped in your brain, and I think you became an Enneagram 3. And he was like, I've never seen this before, right? Which that speaks to like my 4 side of me, is I'm like, I'm different.
Yeah.
Oh, wow, it must be awesome. Uh, so
I beat the types. You can't type me.
yeah. So he was like, I've never seen this before, but I genuinely think you changed Enneagrams. And what ended up happening was in 2012, our middle son, Wyatt, who you know, he had like major heart failure. And when he was 1 week old, right after he was born, and then they basically life flighted him to Dallas, where he had open heart surgery when he was 2 weeks old, right? And again, like a switch flipped in my brain when that happened, to this place where I was just like, this will never happen again. Obviously, I can't control my kids' medical stuff, but us being in this financial position where we've got overwhelming medical debt and no real way to pay for it, like this is never going to happen again. And I went into like provider, protector mode, um, and just like, what do I have to do? What do I need to do to get this done? And he was like, I think you went into like achiever mode. And he was like, I genuinely think your Enneagram changed that day. And he's like, now I think you've gone into this mode where you went into this kind of trauma mode of like, I have to provide for my family. I'm in an emergency. What do I do? And he was like, from 2012 to 2017, he's like, I don't think you've ever realized that you're not in that place anymore. Like every deal, every client, every team member, every employee, like every decision, business decision, in your mind, you're like, I have to make the right decision so I can save Wyatt's life, right?
Whoa.
He was just like, I'm here to tell you he's good. You're good, right? And your only option was to crush it, right?
Mm.
And he was like, you have become the it. You're crushing yourself. And so I just thought that was really interesting. And what's funny is like as I've looked back on that, I actually think there's something to that, but I don't think he was totally right. I actually think I've always been a three
Yeah.
because looking back as a kid from my earliest memories until now, I haven't necessarily always wanted to achieve, always wanted to be super. I haven't always been super ambitious, but I have always cared a lot about what other people think of me. And I have always cared deeply about how I'm perceived by others,
Mm-hmm.
right? And that is the part of the three that I really identify with.
Yeah.
So, on that note, I think like, man, like some major trials that I've had in business, in being an employer, right, is like I have often made decisions based on how I think others will perceive me, and those are not typically the best business decisions to make, right?
Yeah.
Um, However, I think because I care about the way that others perceive me, I think it makes me a really caring boss. I
Yeah.
think it makes our team culture awesome.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so I don't know. There's a lot of
And
different
your
ways.
clients.
That,
Like that's I
yeah,
mean, I'm sure I'm sorry it's probably not always the most fun internal experience for you, but it makes everybody else feel amazing
that's,
because you care so much.
no, that's a great point. I mean, honestly, if like really what I want is I want to be perceived as being the best real estate team ever. Well, it
Mhm.
just so happens that a good way to be perceived as being the best real estate team ever is to be the best real estate team ever. You know,
Shocking.
it's funny how that works. Um,
Yeah.
so yeah, it's definitely there's a dark side to it, but it definitely comes in handy a lot.
Yeah, thank you for sharing that. By the way, I was just totally resonating with what you were sharing. That I think it's a misnomer that threes are just like the most ambitious. I don't think that my sister Kirsten resonates with. Well, I think she, oh, well, this is why I couldn't interview her. I had to interview somebody I could be more objective with. But she, I think, would say the same thing that you're saying, that it's like achievement hasn't always been the most obvious characteristic of how this type has expressed for you. It's been perception of
Yep.
in front of others. So with that, and I'm now thinking back to so many client conversations where they've just felt like, how can I let go of the career I've been in that's like not working for me and killing me, because what will people think?
Hmm.
So I'm sure that they're all, anyone listening who resonates with that is really looking forward to this next part of the conversation, where I'd like to ask you, how have you worked through that to let go so you don't burn yourself and your business to the ground with only being people pleasing?
Yeah. Oh my gosh. You know, I would say the way that I have coped with it, I'm not going to say I have overcome it,
Yeah.
um, but a way that I have coped with it is by surrounding myself with trusted advisors, right? So, first off, probably the best thing you could do is marry someone awesome.
Yeah. Kristen is the best, the very best lady.
Yes. So, my wife is Kristen. She's amazing. She's the best ever. And we really give each other what we call the play by play. That's probably like my best piece of marriage advice is just like tell each other everything all the time, right? Um, and so I'm able to process this a lot with her. So that's super helpful. But then I've even got just a few other guys kind of in and around the industry
Mhm.
who who, again, I would say I call them trusted advisors, where I can go to them, even if I'm not feeling angsty about something, I can just go to them and just run things by them and get kind of a sanity check on things.
Hmm.
So that's super helpful. And then also something that you and I have talked a ton about, we could probably do a whole podcast series on this, but is coaching.
Yeah.
Um,
Love.
I am a big fan of coaching, right? Not all coaches are amazing, but I've been fortunate to find some truly amazing coaches who I would say I've given them kind of a hunting license into my life and into my business, where
That's a great way to say it.
where where I'm just like, hey, whatever. If you see something, say something, right? Like, you know what where my strengths and my weaknesses are, and I'm literally paying you a lot of money every month to call me out when I'm being dumb, or call me out when I'm only making a decision based on how I'm being perceived by others. So those things have been incredibly helpful. Happy to go down whatever path you want to go there.
Yes. Ooh. Okay. With, uh, I wonder if I have the right understanding of this. It feels like from what you're sharing, at least what I'm picking up of like, oh, I really resonate with that. It seems like it's not that you have to become a different person because that's not necessarily going to happen, and also not the best. Like we've talked about already, there's remarkable redemptive qualities to every piece of how you're made. So the real hack is you don't have to become a different personality type. Just talk to people with those personality types that have wisdom
Yep.
and can bring an outside perspective so you're not so caught up in your own story all the time.
Yep.
Does that sound like a good recap?
Absolutely. And I think a lot of it comes down to knowing your blind spots,
Mm,
right? No matter what Enneagram you are, you have blind spots, right?
yeah.
And so I think definitely help, like, aligning yourself with people who can fill those blind spots. But at the same time, you know, it's important to have people who are as objective as they can possibly be, because
Mhm.
even though I care a lot about how I'm perceived by others, I have no problem talking to another business owner friend of mine, talking to another business owner friend of mine, and if they're having a problem with a team member who has a bad attitude or who is not performing, and I have no problem being like, you should probably fire that person, like, come on. uh, so I have no problem advising someone on that, even though if I were in that position, it would be really hard for me to do
Yeah,
that because of my blind spots.
that's relatable. Yeah. Um, one thing that I always like to end on with these conversations is like hope for the future for somebody who is feeling like they're struggling with the more unhealthy end of their personality type. Does it get better? And like, has your experience of like, have you been happier and more proud of yourself over time for, and like happy to be the way that you're made?
Yes, for sure. Um, you know, Again, I just want to say a few things at one time here.
Say
So,
one of them.
so yes, but I think a lot of that just comes with maturity. And I'm not sitting here saying I'm the most mature person ever. I did just turn 40. Come on now.
Hey.
Um, and I
Happy
think,
birthday.
yeah, thank you. And I think back to, when I was 30, how did I operate? How did I let these things consume me? And my blind spots were a lot bigger, right, than they are now. And
Mhm.
so I like to look back. You and I are both big fans of The Gap in the Gain, right?
Mhm.
It's a great book.
Dan Sullivan, shout out.
Benjamin Hardy, Dan Sullivan, great book if you haven't read it. But I love looking back, in this moment, even as we're having this conversation, and I'm like, man, like, I didn't even really realize until you asked me about this how much I have grown in the last 10 years.
Mhm.
And then I think back to when I was 30, how much I grew from when I was 20,
Mhm.
right? And I would almost be like paralyzed thinking about what people thought of me and how they perceived me. And I just had a major, major approval idol, right? And so I'm sitting here thinking about it like, oh my gosh, like how much more am I going to grow by the time I'm 50? You know?
Yeah. It's
So,
pretty exciting.
yeah, like I could change nothing and I'm probably still going to grow a ton in these 10 years
Mhm.
because I'm going to get more confident. I'm going to care less about what people think of me. Um, so I would say in addition to everything I mentioned, like marry someone amazing,
Mhm.
surround yourself with trusted advisors, get at least one great coach, right? I would say in addition to that, despite your best efforts, you're just gonna also get older,
Yeah.
and you're gonna
Praise
learn.
God.
Praise God, and you're gonna learn, you're gonna grow, and so yeah, for sure. Like I would say, I have gotten a lot more comfortable doing what I need to do in my business quicker, right?
Mhm.
Like, I mean, literally last week I had to let a team member go,
Yeah.
and I know we've talked about this a little bit, but it was so incredibly hard, and it was just as hard as it has always been. It hurt. Well, the other team member got lost their job, but it hurt me still, like just as much as it always has. So
Mhm.
that doesn't get better. However, I probably did it 10 times faster than I did it 3 years ago, right?
Mhm.
And a lot of me dragging things out was a result of me not wanting to be seen as selfish or a bad boss, or I couldn't fix this person. I couldn't turn them from an B player to an A player. And now I've learned to just take much quicker action. Um,
That's amazing that you said that because I'm just realizing now that this is the naturally the third episode in this series. I'm thinking back to my conversation with Audrey, who's type 1, the perfectionist. And one theme in her growth was not necessarily that all the feelings go away. Just like you're saying, you could
yeah,
still have the reaction, you could still have a way that your mind naturally gravitates towards, but she just it gets less caught up in holding herself back and trying to craft the perfect work product before just sending it. So it time to delivery faster. Same with my friend Molly, who was our type 2 guest, the helper. She still feels the grip of disappoint fear of disappointing someone and not being loved or needed, but her time to set a boundary is so much faster and she's so much quicker to protect her peace. And I love that with you. It's like, hey, the feelings can still come up, but you can work through them and not wait around until the house is on fire. Sorry, the table's shaking. Both of my cats are tap dancing on it. This is pretty crazy around here. Um, yeah, that's really, really sweet. From a faith perspective, is there anything else that you feel like um, God has, like, in your relationship with God, you've gone to as a means to experience more of the fun, redemptive side of being the professional and the performer rather than the people pleasing? Because I'm thinking of one of my favorite verses, Galatians, I think it's 1:10 or 3:10. It's, if I were working for the approval of man, I would not be a servant of Christ.
yeah,
So, which is really, really convicting. So, anyway, from a faith perspective, how has that helped you?
yeah. That hits, by the way, that
It
verse.
hits, it
Oh my
slaps even.
goodness. Yes. Oh, um, golly, Kelsey. Again, I could talk about this for a long time. I would say like it has completely changed my relationship with God. I mean, just understanding this, but again, like I think a lot of this has come with maturity and like a
Yeah.
lot of the way that I have gone to God with these things. Like at the end of the day, at the end of the day, yes, my greatest fear is that I would be worthless or that I would be seen as being worthless, right?
Mhm.
However, that is like anti gospel. right? Like
Yeah.
I know that like I have extreme worth to God. Um, I know that yes, like I care a lot about the way that I am perceived by others. It's deeply important to me. However, I know the truth that at the end of the day, I actually have nothing to provide God of worth in and of itself. But God, God perceives me. He knows exactly what I've done. He knows who I am, yet still he chooses to love me. It's just like it almost like takes you low to take you high. It's like, yeah, I'm actually worse than I think I am.
Yeah. Yeah.
Worst case scenario, like I'm worse than the worst case scenario, yet still God chooses to love me. Still, Jesus chose to die on the cross for me. And
Mhm.
so I think whenever I'm quiet, um, and whenever I can reflect, which is not often because I'm so go 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 all the time, and I need to learn to chill.
Yeah.
Um, but whenever I'm quiet, the older I get, that's what God communicates to me immediately. And I don't know if I'm answering your question.
You are, but like in the most profound way. Thank you for sharing the gospel. That is like the most worthy way of using time. That's like one reason that I think Tim Keller was such a roaring success as a pastor is he just actually made sure to get around to preaching the gospel by the end of every sermon, um, which is shockingly rare, grievously rare. But that reminds me of something that our pastor said. We were talking about it at small group. Oh, see, there's the cat. Appearance being made. But he said something like, you could correct me on this. The gospel is what God has done for us, not what we could do for God.
Mhm.
That
Yeah,
was really, really profound.
I was
Thank you
just
for
last week,
sharing all
a
of
week,
these things. Oh,
2 weeks
sorry.
ago.
Yeah. Look at me remembering a sermon. Sometimes I'm like, Kelsey, don't have goldfish brain. Remember what we talked about on Sunday. Um, Thank you, Barrett, for sharing your experience with all these things and your wisdom. How can people reach out to you if they would like a home with all these rate cuts that I pray will actually happen over the next year?
They
I saw
will.
the news.
They certainly
They
will.
will.
So yeah, if you want to buy a home, you want to sell a home, or if you know anybody in the world who does, you can reach out to me one of a couple different ways. I actually love pointing people toward my YouTube channel. So
Yeah.
just look me up, Barrett Raven, Barrettraven, or look up my company, Harpeth Realty, on YouTube. I am pretty prolific on YouTube, and we do a lot of stuff with education and like highlighting a bunch of different communities in and all around Austin. So go there. There's a contact form in all of our videos. Or you could go to my website, harpethrealtytx.com, kind of poke around, see what we're all about. There's a contact form there. And then also, I always forget, if you know anybody in the world who has a real estate need, tell me, because I can help anyone, anywhere, in any country, on any continent, with any real estate need. Even if I can't help you personally in the Austin area, I have agent networks all over the
Yeah.
world, so I can help you anywhere in the
That's
world.
the crazy thing that I didn't realize before is like I used to always listen when I wanted to buy a home before I just let you help me with the whole process and I didn't really need to know as much as I thought. I was looking at these podcasts and stuff and I was like, oh well, this real estate agent is in a different market, so it doesn't matter. You could reach out to them and they could point you to making sure that you don't get like a riffraff agent, but you actually
Yeah,
get a great one. So
yeah,
it's better to go through a recommendation anyway.
absolutely, always.
Thank you, Barrett. Again, I salute you, and I look forward to seeing you on Sunday.
No doubt. All right, I'll catch you later, Kelsey.
Bye. Thanks for listening to today's episode. To get an even more meaningful head start into your calling, head to thecalledcareer.com, where my fellow career coach Audrey and I have created a whole suite of free resources and tools to help you get clear and get a job today. For those who are definitely ready to land a job or start a business in the next 6 to 12 months, we're here to help you biblically and practically discern your calling through coaching, reflection, and deep market research. Identify the job that's aligned with it, even if you currently have no idea what you want. Rebrand your resume and LinkedIn to translate your background to appeal to your future boss. P.S. We take this off your plate and do this for you. Also, we'll teach you how to land referrals and get attention from leadership through networking. Again, if that makes you nervous, we have these emails and LinkedIn messages literally written for you so you don't have to sweat. We're also here to give you unlimited interview practice so you're prepared to address every elephant in the room and knock selling yourself out of the park. Then we'll round out with helping you negotiate your salary so you land thousands more. Just so you know, recent clients have gotten $8,000 to $50,000 salary increases, even though they were totally non-traditional candidates. That's because we specialize in helping non-traditional career pivoters land jobs they're ecstatic to serve in. It takes work, but we're here to see you through until the end, when we're celebrating that day that you send me an email in all caps and you say, Kelsey, I got the job. Then you could be on the podcast. But I'll be here until then, keeping you accountable and encouraged by meeting with you literally until you land the job you want, even if that's up to 6 months from now within our program. Apply to join at thecalledcareer.com, and I'll see you next week here at Answer the Call. Bye for now.